We're live.
Yes. All right, guys. Welcome to our new show. Welcome to the Marvel Fans United podcast. So today, again, I'm with my main girl, Enje, and also a brand new, no, not a brand new, it's been invited before, Brandon Katz, everybody. Invited before.
Thank you guys for
We're so
having me
happy
on.
to have you here, Brandon. Welcome again.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you inviting me back after, it always can go either way when you have me on because I'm unpredictable. So I appreciate you bringing me back.
Actually, it's nice, to have different opinions and not always everyone being on board. It is going to be interesting.
There we go.
So, Brandon, can you present yourself to the people that don't know you?
Yeah, so I'm the senior entertainment reporter for the New York Observer. You can find my work at observer.com. I cover everything from, blockbuster films and TV shows to like Oscar bait, Emmy bait, the streaming wars, box office. But on top of all that, I'm just a huge, proud couch potato who loves himself some superheroes. So I'm always excited to talk about Marvel.
Who's awesome. Better to have us with us right now?
All right, so if you guys are listening to this or watching us and you're scared that we're going to spoil, for 10 minutes, we're not going to spoil, okay? We're just going to talk about feelings about the show. But after that, it's going to be spoiler time, but I'll remind you. I'll give the floor to Enje. What did you think of episode 3?
Okay, so am I going first for the reactions?
You know what? Let's go with Brandon.
Yeah, let's go with Brandon.
Right. Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah. Let's get
let me take the brunt. All right, so
reactions. Yeah, episode 3.
I still really like the Falcon and Winter Soldier overall. I'm enjoying the show, and I like Marvel a lot. But this was my least favorite episode of the season, and I think my main problem with it is a problem that I see recurring throughout the post-Phase 1 Marvel franchise. And it's something we'll dig into a little bit more when we get into our spoiler talk. But just as a kind of zoomed out overall consensus, I think as much as I love Marvel, they do have a problem with consequences and character development and the connection between the two. So here I found that lacking. I had some issues with it, but of course, there were still elements I really did enjoy. So, overall, happy with it, but least favorite of the season so far.
Okay. What about you, Enje? What did you think?
So for me, I think overall, it is my favorite episode compared to the first and the second one. Because, it has a lot, it's packed, and the pace of it, we have a lot of, Sam and Bucky relationships on screen. I loved it a lot. And I love the action sequences and, all of these emotional ties that we get it. But of course, yeah, there's a couple of problems that we could say in Marvel, but I think there's some underlying messages that they're also mentioning that we could pick it up to, like, it is for the fans that they're like, what is going on? There should be some consequences. So I agree to that. But overall, I think if they go on and top it each episode, it has been spectacular for me, I guess, like from an overview and like from a general point of view.
Okay. As far as for me, every time it's Friday, I'm excited because there's a new Marvel show. But the thing I'm having a little issue with this third episode is not necessarily the consequences, because it's not over yet. So I'm hoping that there's gonna be something, because we see we'll talk about it when we go to the spoiler time of the show. But I have an issue with the way they're handling Falcon, which is, for me, the show is called Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I don't feel that Falcon is being, its character is really like, it's just the beginning, but so far I feel like it's called the Winter Soldier and the rest of and New York show. That's how I feel like, which is nothing bad, because I love his part, but sometimes I feel like, oh, I wonder what Sam will feel about this. I wonder what this side of it's really like. The first episode started with his sister, and I thought that we will dig into that a little bit, but she come out only way later, and you feel like they're not focusing enough on him for me so far right now. That's how I feel about the show. But the action is still good. I think they put more money than WandaVision for me. That's why I think, because the visual is always on point, and it doesn't feel like it's a low budget show. It doesn't feel like they went down. So I applaud Marvel for that. I like the fact that
Before
it's
getting
feel
to
like
the
you're watching
spoiler
Marvel.
part, I just want to mention this. It does really feel like an overblown like cinematic experience on our screens. But one thing that has been actually I'm trying to understand it, but I don't get it. Is like all of the records that it has been breaking. I don't like. WandaVision had so much more reaction over the internet, and I don't see that many. Of course, there is like my timeline is like filled with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but again, like it is right now the most popular show, and it is Marvel. It's gonna be, but I don't just get it how it has topped WandaVision, because I think
Yeah.
until now WandaVision has been like it is like the top out of everything that Marvel has done. It's so crazy. I just don't get that how it has broken so many records.
Yeah, man. Disney, you better not be paying them the records. But yeah, I have the same thing. What do you think, Brandon?
I think WandaVision invited itself more to be discussed online. You know, the reason why it dominated your timeline is because it invited theory and speculation and like, oh, let me cross-reference this deep dive. Like, I wonder if that symbol in the background of that scene means anything. Whereas I think the Falcon and Winter Soldier is more traditionally straightforward. It's probably got a wider net in terms of the demographics that might be interested in it because it is just a kind of straightforward action spy thriller, whereas WandaVision was a bit more cheeky. So I think what makes it maybe less compelling on the story wise is also what is making it more popular overall. But yeah, you know, listen, I like both a lot, but halfway through each, I'm more invested in WandaVision than I am Falcon Winter Soldier. That's not a diss against Falcon and Winter Soldier, but you know, I love those theories. I love being like, oh, it was Mephisto the whole time.
Yeah.
All the Mephisto and the engineer, all of it, like the theories. I think we just took a listen from it, like everyone after the finale, like, oh my God, all of these theories that was coming out every week. It was crazy. That is one of the hypes of the WandaVision. But I do agree, it makes sense, like, yeah, in terms of the series, like how they approach what kind of things they were trying to tell in WandaVision, the difference to it. It's much more real world compared to WandaVision.
Yeah, just like we discussed last week, you know how they wanted Falcon Winter Soldier to be first, and then WandaVision will come out. I can kind of feel it. I can kind of feel it that they wanted to go crescendo. Then I don't know what they have prepared for us for the rest of the show, but I can feel that with WandaVision, since it was in black and white, since it was changing every episode, you were more invested like each episode to see, oh, what kind of show is going to be again, whether Falcon and Winter Soldier, you already expect, you know, you want the story to go, but you don't think like, oh, something crazy is going to happen. You're more grounded on the show, which is not bad, but I'm ready to discuss the small issues that I have with the show. But
I agree on that. Every morning when I wake up for the WandaVision, like when it was coming out, I wouldn't even get close to my phone. But today, for example, for a second, I knew it was Friday. I knew there was a new episode, but I went on my timeline. I just saw one screenshot. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, out. So like, I immediately opened it and watched it.
Yeah,
you know, Marvel. It's easier for Marvel to start broad with a Falcon and Winter Soldier and go narrow with a WandaVision like they wanted to, as opposed to the reverse. Like, what is this weird, intricate, complex show? And now, okay, wow, watch stuff blow stuff up, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was afraid of a little bit. I was afraid that all those new people that came out with WandaVision, they would go away and be like, okay, this is back to fighting. This is back to Miami Vice. So I don't want to watch it. But they're breaking records, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and it deserves it really, like the scope of it, the tone of it, everything that in terms of the budget, how they're directing it, the cinematography, the stories. Yeah, of course there's going to be some, like you need more explanation, you need much more clearance on some of the stories, yeah, plots, but generally it deserves all of these like breaking records.
I wrote my review for Observer. I thought the pilot was one of the best examples in all of the MCU of taking character texture and having the action be an extension of that and not just CGI punch 'em ups for the sake of action. It actually was a continuation of the themes and the things that they were dealing with both internally, just externalized. So I loved the pilot, loved it.
That's awesome. Are you guys ready to dig in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to wait anymore. All right, guys. So this is the spoiler. We're gonna spoil, okay? So if you haven't watched the show, stop what you're doing, go watch episode 3, and then come back and finish listening to this. Also, Enje can remind you guys where you can see us and listen to us.
Yes, everyone, we have got you covered. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcasting platforms. So you can go and watch it, like listen to it or watch it on YouTube. So don't feel, I think you have everyone right now listening to us have already seen it, but if you haven't, we have got you covered. So let's get into it, Kirk. Take us on.
Let's go. You guys ready? All right, okay, Enje, what's the first thing we talk about?
I think I'm gonna skip a few like the scenes. We're gonna talk about John Walker and all of the AESPs at the beginning. I want to come to the corridor, and they're trying to go and talk. Bucky's trying to talk to Zemo. I have a lot of thoughts about that, and I wanted. Okay, Brandon, let's start with you. Their conversation, first time Zemo seeing Bucky, and the conversation that they had with Sam, the funny parts. All of it. What is your take on it?
So for that first scene when he goes into his cell, I think it's clearly evoking Hannibal Lecter with, someone looking for information on one side of the glass and you got the dangerous prisoner on the other. So I appreciated that allusion to kind of cinematic history. What I really liked? I liked that immediately Zemo is running mental laps around Bucky. I mean, 10 words into their conversation, he goes, something is still in there, talking about the Hydra brainwash. So immediately, Zemo has struck a nerve with Bucky's vulnerabilities and fears. So I really like that right off the bat. We're like, oh yeah, this is why he was such a threat the first time around, even though he's not a super quote unquote.
No,
I agree. Yeah. I think he didn't even skip a bit, reciting all of these triggering codes. But again, at the same time, I think that's what really compelling about Zemo. He's a really intelligent yet skilled individual without having all of the superhero powers that we know. That's what is making it making him so exciting. So Kirk, what is your take?
Yeah, the same thing was for I was like, oh, he's not wasting no time. As soon as you saw him, he's reading the words. I was like, okay. I was like, come on, man, you got in jail because of this. He's trying to, what are you doing? But that was funny to me. But the thing I forgot how much damage Zemo did. I almost but when I saw him, everything came back, and then like you said, he doesn't have any powers. And he made so much damage. Remind me of kind of not to talk about DC, but remind me of Lex Luthor and Superman. How he has no power, but he's doing all this stuff. So when I saw him, I was like, look at this. He's a human behind in jail, and all of you almost was destroyed because of him. And I was like, okay, his power
confidence after being in jail for how many years? I can't I didn't even count it. 5.
Well,
plus
at least 5 years. That's for sure.
Civil War.
And at least, we don't know if he went to dust, but I don't think so.
No, he didn't, because he said you were not conscious, something. I think he was not blipped.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure they will mention it, but I was it felt good when I saw him again. I was like, okay, we're back into it. I'm back into the end of Civil War, so let's get back into it. But the joke, the whole scene, that was funny to me because I thought that was they were about to do this is why I want the plane to go, and then they show the real thing doesn't go. And I was like, what? You already did all this? I was like, the Winter Soldier is not, it's not really, I feel like he's not really backing with the people, because he's still acting like he can do whatever he wants. And it's funny to me. I was like, this is the biggest terrorist right now, and he's free. He just freed Osama bin Laden, and he's just oh yeah, he's coming with us. I was like, well, you should have talked to Sam about it, but that was funny to me. I like the whole thing.
I mean, for a second, I was like, that's it. That's all they talked about. They directly cut to Sam and Bucky together, and just right, you're trying to they're just showing you Bucky is trying to convince Sam to break out Zemo out of prison. And he already did it. What is funny, but at the same time, it's quite. Bucky, how do you even have the urge to do it? It needs a lot of thinking, and try to come to a point with Sam. But Zemo was already out.
Yeah, that's crazy. What was your take on that part, Brandon?
So I agree that I really liked the narrative curveball where you're oh, I guess he's talking about it and trying to convince him. I'm like, oh no, he already did it. I thought that reveal was pretty good. But I think here is roughly where I start to fall off the episode. And you'll have to excuse me for going on a small rant here. But I think one problem with post-phase 1 films in the MCU is that they just verbalize the movie's messaging rather than deliver themes from like the natural ramifications of choice and action. And that's perfectly okay for big blockbusters that have to balance world building and like narrative setup like the MCU does. But I think too often we see Marvel, their heroes just defy all advice and instruction in the name of what they think is right. And that often winds up worsening the situation. And then just because they win at the end, they don't actually have to change or reckon with their behavior. And I think you see that examples of that. Tony in Age of Ultron, Stephen Strange and Doctor Strange, Scott Lang and Ant-Man, Peter Parker and Spider-Man Homecoming. And now here again, we have Bucky, who I understand the Winter Soldier is brainwashed, but he is a known murderer who has carried out heinous crimes for 90 years, is living on a strict requirement from the government for his pardon. And yet immediately, without thinking, without talking to anyone, he breaks Zemo, who is a terrorist. He murdered a world leader. He assassinated King T'Chaka and bombed the United Nations. And he frees him from jail, even though he's rightfully in jail. And from here, their plans just devolve into violence where dozens and dozens and dozens of people are murdered because of Bucky's actions. So what I'm hoping and what my problem is it seems to be setting up eventual character catharsis and character growth at the end just because they saved the day and stopped the flag smashers, not because he was forced to reckon with his past behavior and change his actions and choices as a result. He's simply pummeling forward with what he's always done, which is act on impulse and do what he wants just to get the job done. And we're already seeing it lead to immense violence on foreign territory with a known murderer, with an escaped convict, and with Sam, who is an employee of the US government. That's not good. And I think Marvel has a problem with consequences with the variations of Loki, with Wanda from WandaVision, and now Bucky. And the fact that they don't face consequences means they don't ever change and they continue to do the same thing. And Marvel continues to reward them at the end. I'm hoping it doesn't go that way. But based on episode 3, that's my big problem. That's what I think they're setting up, which again, they have plenty of time to pivot. But that was my main takeaway, and I apologize for the rant. I'm just very passionate about it.
I think you have a valid point, actually. But at the same time, I feel like there's going to be consequences. Hopefully there's going to be, because I mean, yes, there has been a couple of plot problems in Marvel with the consequences, but we have still seen the Scorpio curse, after Age of Ultron, all of these. I think they could take, Bucky could take a different path. He's not a hero. He's kind of right now he is good, but before he was an anti-hero, I might control all of that. But at the same time, what you're talking about, I think Marvel is also aware of it. The reason for why I'm thinking that is when they're in the airport, in the airplane, Zemo does say that, about Captain America. Yeah. When you put someone on the pedestal, all the stars and stripes, you start to they become a symbol, an icon, and you don't see their mistakes. You just overlook it, try to find an excuse for it. So it is there's a mention of that. Either it's Bucky, Sam, Zemo, or before it was Tony Stark. We do an indirect message, underlining these kind of how there should be consequences for these.
I love that conversation of ideology on the plane. And I love that he said, in an essence, we are giving up some of our clear thinking to put our faith in a comforting notion, which is superheroes. And I think as an extension of that, you could argue within the MCU, the existence of superheroes keeps us, society and humanity, from developing because, we have these amazing beings that can solve all of our problems for us. So I loved that conversation in the plane.
The thing for me also, why I was not as much angry with consequences is because I feel like in the shows they're gonna address it. That's what I hope for, because I remember the line that Zemo said. I'm going ahead of myself a little bit, but when he said, "Did you visit the memorial?" And it was oh, why would you? They mentioned it yeah, that's true. There should be a lot of people dead. A lot of people are dying. A lot of people are dying because of the Avengers. So I feel like they brought up on the show so far multiple of time, even with the what you call the super soldier that no one talked about. Isaiah, and so they brought up that okay, consequences is not. They brought up also Sharon. I'm going ahead of myself, but she had no one dealt with her, so I feel like they're gonna dive into this. My problem even with that scene is that I feel like Sam is not part of the like I remember Sam saying the when people shoot at you, he said to Captain America, when people shoot at you, they end up shooting at me too. And I feel like he put his life away. He went on a run to save Bucky, and then now again, I feel like he's suffering everything that a choice that Bucky made. And I was like, he has his own problem. He have his sister, he have all this stuff that's going on in his life, and they're not focusing on it. I feel like Sam is not taking the time to say, whoa, I'm putting that, you just go with it. And that's where I'm feeling like the writing is. But then, like you said, it's only episode 3. They have like plenty of episodes to fix that. Maybe he's gonna get mad at us. Maybe we're gonna have something we don't know. But so far, I feel like he's doing like this is Bucky's mission. Bucky said, "Don't do this. We do this. We go ahead. And some just follow." And I feel like, well, Bucky should take, it should take in mind Sam's feelings in life. And I understand why he doesn't right now, because maybe he's back into life and he just want to fix what happened to his, the thing that happened with his friend and the super soldier. But that's my only problem with the show.
So you mentioned that like when Sam told Steve that when they shoot at you, they shoot at me as well. I think that was the point. Like until that point, what you all said, like Brandon, about like the UN thing, King T'Chaka and all of that, Sam said all of these as well. I think he was against it 100%. But when Bucky used that emotional trick, like psychological trigger on him, like he was like, "You stood up for me when like Steve was here. Now I want you to do the same." I think at that point, you can see from Sam's facial expression right now, even if it's not right, that's like after Steve is not around anymore. They're trying to hold on to each other. And I don't think Sam's like, I agree. And by the way, you said something in the beginning, which I'm going to come to it. He's trying to hold that friendship because they find Steve within each other, that friendship. Like they're not going to fall apart on something stupid that their goal is to save people, like to all of these super soldier serums to find a solution for it. So that's when actually Sam says, okay, but you should be always under permission. And the funny thing, like no together, both.
Oh yeah, that was funny. That was hilarious. And I kind of like what they're doing with Zemo. Kind of like we enjoy him more, having different side of him, seeing him being rich, seeing like I see him as 3D. I mean, it was already well written. That's not what I'm saying, but I like that they're adding something so we can feel for him, so we can have something to attach. When I saw him just dancing, that was good to me to see him doing that to like him a little bit more. Yeah, just doing that fist pump. I was like, okay.
I think the two best things within this episode, like the best line, it was like when Sharon said, I got the wings for your ass to save you from his ass. It was so funny. And like that was the best line. And the best thing was like Zemo bum fisting the like to that music. It was like, so funny. God, we need much more Zemo after this episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I tweeted, I'm like, Zemo, fist bumping at the club is like an introvert at a party working on their third drink, like he was just starting to feel it.
But Brandon, you called it because last time we saw you said they might do something with like Loki, like with Zemo to make us enjoy him more, and I feel like that's what they're starting doing. Like if he doesn't become a hero, since he's not, maybe this anti-hero thing. Maybe I feel like it's gonna be less of a villain. That's what I think, but I'm not sure because I don't fully trust him when I watch the show because I think he's trying to set up better.
To answer that question, I think I want to ask this. So, like about trusting Zemo, like where did he even get hold of Bucky's notebook? Like it was Steve's notebooks. Like he was reading it. At what time? When did he have time to take it and read it? So that's the thing. Yes, Zemo is right now trying to help them, and the reason is that because he has not tripped his code, and he's still trying to achieve the same thing that he tried to do with Civil War. That's why he's helping them. That like, do we trust him? What is your opinion on it? Like on Zemo?
I think by the end of this show, he's clearly going to betray them at the moment that serves him right. I think right now their interests align. They don't want super soldiers running out there. We know in general, Zemo doesn't want superheroes at large. So I think the moment that he's able to accomplish his goal and then enact whatever the larger plan is, he probably will. But I agree, Kirk. I also think they are trying to de-villainize him a little bit so we like him. Maybe set up a potential Thunderbolt spinoff down the road on Disney Plus, something like that. I mean, it was hard. First of all, Daniel Bruhl, I think, is just a phenomenal actor.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
He's acting circles around Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, and his character is just a jolt of energy into the show. But you know, like we said, I do think there's more than meets the eye every time Zemo is at play. He's a master manipulator. That's the number one thing he does. So I don't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Yeah, that's what you said. The keyword for me is a manipulator also, because the first thing he said, it was like, oh, there's still something left in you. And then he said, I feel like he was trying to set him up because people had cameras and stuff. And he was like, stay in character. Then he tells Sam, you see how easy it was for him. So I was like, oh, you're still there, Zemo. You're still crazy. And I feel like he's doing kind of like a Vegeta and Goku at the beginning of the first arc of Dragon Ball Z, when he's like kind of help them, like you said, because he doesn't want a super soldier on the street because that's how he lost his family. But at the same time, once this is done, he have no intention of going back like a dog to jail and follow orders. I feel like once this is done, it's gonna be like, hey, I'm doing my thing. And I think that'll be interesting to see that, because I feel like Marvel trying to make us like him also, so we can have mixed feelings about it. So we don't be like, yeah, you need to be dead, you know. So yeah.
As a fellow nerd, I respected that Dragon Ball Z reference, my man. I got you on that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I think Zemo is gonna be. I think, yeah, like Daniel Bruhl is like great actor, just like Tom Hiddleston. I think he's gonna take the Loki path with Marvel. Like Loki wasn't supposed to last until now, but fans loved him so much. Like he was a villain in the beginning, but at the same time, his character was so compelling. I feel like he's gonna end up in the same path in terms of getting so much more spotlight in Marvel, and maybe get a spin-off as well, as you mentioned that. And I would love that, because he is being that, like holding that mirror to the superheroes, like telling them, have you visited Scovia, trying to show them their actions. And like he is a strategic, intellectual person. And let's not forget that. I mean, a lot of people have been saying that since Civil War came out, he's just a normal guy, and he's a great villain. Everyone has been saying that he tried to break the Avengers apart. But let's not forget, he's a trained soldier. Like he has been doing everything that these guys has like been like. They started to be involved in this kind of stuff after they were superheroes. But he has been in this, and he's really clever in terms of he doesn't need any superpowers to be, because he have got the brain.
I like how Zemo, he says a lot in short sentences. And I've actually had the pleasure of interviewing Daniel Bruhl in real life.
Oh, that's
kind
awesome.
of speaks the same. He has these clipped, short, but very intelligent sentences. That's how he talks. I'm like, oh, so you're just like a good Zemo. I got it.
I think that's the reason why everyone loves Zemo. At the same time, it's a testimony to Daniel Bruhl, like what a great actor he is portraying Zemo. I'm so glad that we have him in at the MCU, just like Tom Hiddleston.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So let's to like when at the end of the they were there in the airplane, and Zemo tells him that you'll have to be someone that you claim to be gone. We know what that is, and they're going to Madripoor. So okay, Madripoor. There's an Easter egg there. So we know that in the comics it's from X-Men, Wolverine. What is your of course it's not going to be like theorizing everything that's going to show up in the next few episodes, like WandaVision everyone is expecting. But Marvel has this, like they have been using like their tools and the Easter eggs references really well, that's going to show up in the next couple of phases or even years. So what is your take on that? Like we are getting so much more X-Men references, right? Just like WandaVision started, and like, with this one too. So what is your take on it?
I don't think X-Men or mutants are going to pop up or be name dropped in this show. But like, you know, I just love that they've been able to set up Sokovia, set up Wakanda, set up Madripoor. We now have these 3 very integral fictional cities established in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all 3 of which I would like to revisit. I mean, a city with the shadow underworld kind of crime syndicate. It's almost like that secondary world that exists in John Wick. We have the real world, and then we've got everything that's going on with these intelligent criminals. I want to know more. I want to visit it again. If we ever get that Jimmy Woo kind of X-Files series, I want him to go investigate something in Madripoor. It's such a cool location. It was shot great. The cinematography was great with the neon lights in the rain. I want to go back.
Definitely the cyberpunk like vibes, like the Blade Runner ones, it was so great. And especially like when they both, like 3 of them side by side, they were walking on the bridge and you could see the skyline of Madripoor. It was so great. I mean, the cinematography, the action scenes after that, when they get into it, let's talk about like their outfits. Zemo's outfit, just like the moment he comes out of jail and like the mask and the coat, everything.
Me, the thing I like about that scene, I mean, before I talk about the outfit, was the sentence that Zemo said, only in America would a black man that fast forward fashion would be called a pimp. And I kind of like that because that's true, because that's all that's kind of this racist stereotype that people say. And then I like that Zemo is so like, I'm not American and I represent the world. And I like that sentence, but I kind of like I read your article and I like what you said, the Scooby-Doo. You said
I basically said that, listen, Bucky has a terrible plan to break Zemo out of jail. They then follow that up with Zemo's terrible Scooby-Doo plan with flashy get-ups and thin backstories that falls apart immediately. Literally immediately it falls apart and dozens of people get killed because it was such a bad plan. So the plotting I didn't like, but I really liked the visual aesthetic. Everything was great. And Kirk, what you said, I think Zemo's so insightful with what he said about like only in America. I think the strongest parts of Falcon and Winter Soldier so far has been the racial focus and how we treat Black public figures. And between Isaiah and Sam, the cyclical nature of prejudice and disenfranchisement of people. And I think to your earlier point, they are a little bit in this episode taking away Sam's agency and his ability to make choices for himself after kind of making that the strongest point. So I thought there was a little jarring weirdness in the 3rd episode as opposed to the first 2. But listen, even if I think Zemo's plan is ridiculous, and it fails immediately, man, it was funny. How much would it take for you guys to take a shot of snake guts?
Oh,
oh my God.
I was like, oh my God.
Thumbs up at the end. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was awesome. For me, I thought it was about just to drink it and leave the gut, but you got to take the whole thing. But
the usual, and he was like, the usual. Yeah. And he didn't know what it was.
Yeah, this whole scene was hilarious. But just to go back just 2 seconds, for me, like the whole the way the scene was set up, it reminded me so much of Black Panther. Like it was like foreshadowing the last scene so much, not to get ahead of myself. The
Tokyo scene, yeah, Black Panther.
The different costume to go to that to meet with I forgot his name.
Selby.
Yes, wow, I'm the president of Marvel fan, and to go. to go to they're changing the same way, the colors kind of the same, the dark the dark violet, the purple that go with it, and I was like, this remind me of Wakanda. I don't know why. And then I was like, I don't know if it's on purpose or not. It probably is, but I loved it. I love that it reminded me so much of it. Even the soundtrack, if you listen to it, they have like some instrumental that they use for the whole movie of Black Panther, the little the thing like that. I was like, okay, this reminded me a lot of Wakanda.
That's a great observation. I didn't pick up on the soundtrack. That's really cool.
From the soundtracks, from the location, the cinematography, I think this episode also showed that the interconnectivity of the stories, this episode was great. Like you mentioned, from Wakanda to like Madripoor, like my brain always wants to say Shelby instead of Selby and Madripoor instead of Madripoor. I don't know why. So I have a struggle. And what else? Like there's a lot of connections between mentioning so many people. I mean, even Tony Stark is gone, but the OD is still there. It was on to it, and like when we get into the the bar, like the low, what was it called, Low City, something like that.
Low City, the crime half, I guess.
Yeah, the low. So like Zemo is enjoying every second that he's getting, trying to like manipulate, like trying to be the master of Bucky and like manipulating like a puppet, even when there was Selby like playing with his chin, and you can see Bucky's trying to, like, he wants to punch him but he can't, and like he's gloating, like he's trying to say everything that's going to trigger them because he knows that they can't show any reactions. Zemo is enjoying his time in this episode.
He does such a great job of messing with them. It's great. But I will say, I know this is a nitpick, but like 2 episodes ago, a bank manager in random Louisiana immediately recognized Sam Wilson. You're telling me that the crime capital of the world with the most well-informed criminals in the world aren't immediately going to be like, you're Falcon. Like, this is Zemo. He's supposed to be a genius. And his plan is so thin and weak. I'm like, that guy's Sam Wilson. That's Falcon, 100%. I know because I'm a criminal. That's your face. That's you.
Did you see the photos? It was so familiar. Was it a real life photo of Anthony?
No, I mean, for me to answer this, I was like that with you as well. I was like, the Avengers, they're not just like basketball players. I was like, you can be from China and not know who's playing in the Knicks, and I understand that. This is the Avengers. Everyone knows them.
Yeah.
For 5 years, I mean, everybody was dead, not just on Earth. The whole galaxy was. We all know the Avengers helped kill Thanos. Everyone know in every multiverse, everywhere. All right. So I would understand that even if you go outside, it should be paparazzi everywhere. Like Sam Wilson's on the street, but if we go with what Marvel said, if there's a guy that looks exactly like Sam and he's been going there, I feel like they've been telling him, "Oh, you look like Sam Wilson," because she didn't think that it wasn't him until she heard on the phone Sam.
Oh, that phone call.
Yeah, so that's mean they used to have somebody that looked like Sam Wilson so much, like it's doing, but
he knows him so well that he knows his usual drink. Wouldn't he be like, "You're not smiling, Tiger"?
Yeah, I know.
I feel you.
He'd be like, "Why are you not excited? This is your favorite drink."
But he was suspicious. Like he was watching him to like drink it until the last minute. Until
I felt bad for us for Bucky. I'm not gonna lie. When he forced him to do all this stuff, and because that was really something that hurted him. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is the most humiliating thing to do, like to act like his puppet." And then when he did the thing to the chair, I was laughing. I was like, this must have been crazy. But then at some time, I didn't know if he felt like he was enjoying it because he was going like a little overboard. But then Zemo kept saying like, don't break character, like on purpose. And I was like, he's smart. The Zemo never left. He's still,
until the moment the bartender said that Selby is ready to see you, I felt like Zemo was just playing them and he was just using Bucky for his like enjoyment. Because
for me, I saw the phone and I was like, oh, he's setting him up so the people see that he's not. It's still the same.
That's what I thought.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, he's setting him up and he's gonna go to jail. He's gonna be on a run. He's gonna go crazy.
I had conflicted emotions during this scene because, in terms of an audience, it was so cool to see like the Bucky that we know, that we have always seen, just kicking everyone's ass. But at the same time, you could see that he wants to do it because he wants to get the job done. But like you can see it from his facial expression that he's actually struggling. And when I'm gonna say Sam said like, "Are you okay?" But like Zemo was enjoying it. Like Zemo had the fun during this episode.
What did you think of that character dying so quickly?
Of Selby?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole middle dragged a little bit because it kept being like, oh, and here's this next new important person. Here's this next and they just kept killing him off. I'm like, oh, so all this information that you're gathering kind of could have been compressed into one scene, maybe. Still, the bar scene, like we've talked about, really fun, really entertaining. I just think there's big flaws and ways that it could have maybe been improved or streamlined. Because I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be like an interesting anchor in Madripoor. And like, nope, not at all.
Me too. I was thinking she was about to be like the collectioner in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, oh, we will see her like when some big stuff happens, you have to go through, and she just died. I was like, what? You told me she was the judge, like the whole city gonna kill you. Like, yeah, you're crazy. I felt like she was helping everybody, and I was like, okay, she's just dead. Then we don't know, but I'm pretty sure she's dead. But I was like,
oh, she is. We saw blood.
Yeah, I was like, so is all that for nothing? I was like, what? I was like, what's your mission there? But then
why build them up to be that cool? And like, why couldn't it have just been a normal street level performer, you know?
She was a cool character, yeah. To be honest, I was like, they could have not killed, but at the same time, not anyone not getting killed, it is kind of like, you know,
but for me, like the film would have worked. The film, if they were like, "Oh, you want to see the big boss?" and it's like a Russian dude, but she's like, I have this outfit, this interesting haircut, and she's so interesting. It's like, what? You did all this. You cast somebody like mysterious, and you'd be like, "Oh, you're gonna be in the MCU." She was excited. She told all her family, like, "Oh, by the way, you dead. You dying. You're dying after 10 minutes."
So with her death, Bitcoin has officially made it to MCU.
Yeah.
Gotta get it on the ground floor there.
Charm character. So let's get to her. The guardian angel, as Zemo called her.
I like
your opinions on her, like her lines, what she said, like she was angry, she was furious, which I personally think she is right. She has all the right to be angry at them. Let's talk about her.
Brendan, let's go with you first.
So she seemed like a completely different character than the Sharon Carter we met in Winter Soldier and Civil War. And while she was like a complete 180 from what we knew then, I kind of buy her transformation a little bit more than maybe like a Zemo, who I'm like, oh, I'm just a normal guy who lost his family. Like, no, actually, I'm super rich and I have all these connections in the underworld. Sharon, I get a little bit more because of what she's been through and all that. She was kicking ass. I loved her jujitsu skills. I thought that was great. I thought her line, you know, like all the superhero stuff is a joke. It's hypocrisy. Yeah. I feel like she's actually kind of seen and come around to the truth of the world more so than some of these other characters. My one nitpick is Sam can't even get a bank loan for a small business and he's going to get her pardoned. Like, how does that work? The government has lied to Sam at every turn and cheated him out of his rightful mantle. But he's got sway to get her pardon. I don't think so.
Thank you. So this was the thing I was also mad about because it's still attached to Sam. Sorry to cut you, Brandon, but I was like, okay, you got to be one of those two. Either Sam is super famous and is like part of the Avenger, which was at the end of Avenger 2, and then I was like, either it's super famous and he's like Captain America. Everywhere he goes, he's respected and he can get whatever he wants. Or it's nothing. It's kind of like the government after 5 years, they don't see the Avengers like the elite and you don't give you have nothing. But now it's like they give us both sides. One day he's recognized everywhere and they have clearance to all the stuff. He goes to with the army, and then the other side is like, oh, I'm nobody. You know, it's like it's hard. I have my sister. I don't get money. I have this, and I was like, okay, we need to know where it's here because no one was treated. I mean, Tony Stark didn't need no money, but he was as famous. Even Black Widow, she was meeting with the UN at the end of the movie to explain what happened. I was like, she's a big deal. They know her. She's an Avenger. So like, why is Sam treated like I don't know, is it treated like he's a side characters? So I was like,
isn't that the point? So I agree with you both that I wish they had continued. Like, of course, there's still 3 episodes, and I'm sure that we are going to get much more Sam. But in this episode, it felt like a Winter Soldier's episode and Zemo's. Like I was so happy to see like the backstory of Sam in the first episode, but that's the problem. Like that's what they're trying to show. Like we all want Sam to get what he deserves, the recognition, the respect, and everything. But kudos to Marvel that they're not shying away from bringing on all of these racial issues. And like if it was true, that's how Sam would have been treated. Isn't that the message?
No, I like that. I agree with you. I think dealing with how an individual who is actually a superhero would exist in the real world and the kind of professional implications that come along with that. I like that. I just am very specifically extremely not confident that he can get her a pardon when he couldn't even get a bank loan. Like mine's very much a nitpick on that exact thing. He does not hold sway, and that there is a power scaling disparity, which shouldn't be for someone in his case. And he is commodified like we do to Black athletes and celebrities, unfortunately. But like Sharon, he should at least tell Sharon, like, I'll try. He's like, no, I got you. I'm like, listen, man, the government lied to you, convinced you to just give away the shield, and then gave it to somebody else. Like, you don't have any prowess with them. You don't have any sway whatsoever, unfortunately.
That was my thing. Like, Enje, I agree with you. Like, the whole point of the show is like to see how Sam is, and I agree with you. It should be like that. But my thing is that it was like sometimes it's up, sometimes it's low, sometimes it's like it's nobody, like it's hard for him. But he just go with the army behind the city. He's doing side mission. He's calling, oh, I need you. Give me this. Give me that's the part. So I was like, either you fool or you're not. So that. But I agree with you. That's the point of the show, to show us how it's like, okay, once the war is over, like they treat veterans, like, okay, we have the service now, we don't need you. Kind of like Captain America at the beginning of the Winter Soldier, he was following orders. He wasn't like, okay, you're no more Captain America, the war is over, now you back it to, you follow what SHIELD says. So I understand that part, but it was just like Brendan said, he was like, I'll get you a pardon, like, you're not in charge.
Literally, how?
All this, like, and even Sharon says it, like, don't build on me, like, okay.
Let me tell you how I felt when I was watching it, like on my screen. I was like, Sam, like, the government doesn't want you. They don't trust you, and like they just don't want you. How are you gonna get that? But at the same time, I was like, if I was in his place, I wouldn't want to let down my friend. Like he knows that they're not going to listen to him, but at the same time, he just wants to do something. So that's why he's trying to give the promise. But we all know that it is going to be a struggle to get her a pardon.
Yeah, that's a great thing. That's true. Maybe it's just saying this not to get
because in the airplane, like he was, when Bucky said, "Are you okay?" and he was like, "I'm thinking about all the shit that Sharon has been through." Like, he is sad what Sharon has been through, and they got back to America. They were all pardoned and accepted back, but she is still like in another country, and they don't let her to go back to her country. So that's why she's feeling some guilt, and he's trying to do something for her, even if he has to pass so many like. Yeah,
there's only one thing that I don't like about Marvel that they do, except they did it with Captain America. When somebody's on the run or somebody's in the dirt, they're so clean. That's my only thing I see. You know, I was like, what? I was like, she's on the run. Look at her hair. Look at her. Like, she's amazing. She look amazing. I was like, what is this run? I like.
Oh, what about when people wake up in the morning in movies?
Yeah. I was like, yeah. But since Marvel pays so much attention to little stuff, I was like, what's a let go stuff like that? Like even Tony Stark, when he was in the I was about to say boot camp. No, when he was in the cave, he was like all dirty. So like, okay, good. But when you see Captain America being on the run, he was a little dirty. His beard was all traced up, and so I was like, what? Is he supposed to be dirty? What's going on? This is not the run. This is, you're living great, Sharon.
Yeah, and if this is on the run, Sharon just went from a government salary, which is terrible, to like living large in Madripoor. Like, I'll take that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I did forget. Yeah, she didn't have her own apartment. She had a chauffeur. I forgot that she was making bank now.
She didn't have to babysit some 90-year-old who doesn't know what's going on in the world. You know, like she's living her best life. Let her be. Yes.
Did anyone of you actually pay any attention, or do you think there's some underlying messages when she said there's a lot of things going on? There's something that I have to tell you. Actually, a lot of things when she leaves them, like she has a driver. What could she be up to?
I don't know. That's why I don't want to do any more guesses, or I'll be wrong like WandaVision. After WandaVision, I think she's not. I forgot about this part. So my whole point before is gonna break with what I'm gonna say now. But I don't think she's just a little girl in that city. I feel like she got a little power, because first she got a chauffeur, so there was no Uber. That was somebody that was working for her. Like the girl didn't speak. She was like, "Okay, we're doing this often. I drive you often." So it felt like because she was like, I'll get, I'll see what I can do. I'll get back to you, almost like, hey, I know what I'm doing. And yeah, so I think they're going to reveal to us that she's doing some big stuff out there.
one more line for like Zemo said, which I just want to. I mean, all of the lines that Zemo had in this episode was so great. When Sharon says, "Deep down, you know that's all hypocrisy," and he says, "He knows, but not so deep down." Like he understands much more than they are actually aware of it.
Yeah,
Daniel Brühl has chemistry with everyone.
He does. Oh, can we like the what did Sam call Bucky? Wait, the bionic steering machine. I think that should be his new nickname. It was like he's right. He has killed every single person that he has in front of him. Like he has killed everyone. So he should be called something else. If he could get pardoned, Sharon could get like as well. What did Sharon do? I don't think that Sharon did that much of a big mistake. Like he was trying to be just like everyone else.
True. I mean, she did steal the shield, but like Bucky murdered a lot of people, a lot of good. He killed the president. I'm sorry, you stop there.
Like he's assassinated multiple world leaders.
Yeah,
broken out a terrorist, and the government's like, we're good.
Yeah, you can go. They didn't even change his identities. They'd be like, yeah, you can just go to Starbucks the next day. Like he's famous. People should be scared. Be like, that's the dude that killed right? Yeah, that's a whole terrorist. They didn't even try to change his hair or anything. He just cut it. He should have a long beard, blonde hair, and live in Guatemala somewhere because how you still in the US?
Like we know Bucky himself is a good person, but if let's say you are literally the American government, like the world's a safer place with Bucky either dead or in jail. I'm sorry, that's just like a true fact.
Yeah, no, but that's true. If you don't really care about his bond with Captain America, you'd be like, that's nice, but a lot of grandma died when he did that. A lot of friendship died.
I think I want to say something about that, but I don't want. I think I'm gonna say something about Bucky in terms of his character and his arc when we get to Carly. So before getting to Carly, let's get to
Enje,
Sharon get them to the doctor.
Let's not forget the time. We have to.
Okay, so Carly is the last one. Before Carly, let's like the most important scene when they find the Dr. Nagels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of information going on there. Brandon.
Which scene is it? I'm sorry.
So, when they find the doctor, like who's developing the super soldier serum, Dr. Nigel, and they try to get information from him.
So I think it was interesting. I mean, obviously the super soldier serum, the new version, is wreaking havoc. And again, another reason why I want to return to Madripoor. They clearly have a lot of influence on global, events if they can send out these types of people. So I thought it was a really cool action scene. But again, Kirk, like what we were talking about before, you're setting someone up to be important and then taking them off the board right away. It was just a little jarring each step of the way.
That's true. For me too, I was like, when Zemo shot him, I was like, what? I was like, what's happening? And I was like, then that's what made me not trust him. I was like, he shot him because, I mean, it makes sense that he killed him because so he doesn't make any more super soldier. But I feel like you could have all the information you needed from this guy. The mission will be over. You take him, he will tell you everything because he was scared of a little gun. Just like, I don't know, like punch him in the stomach 3 times and but he just killed him. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, I didn't like that he died like that.
While I don't agree with the doctor being dead, but I actually 100% get why Zemo killed him. You could see how angry he is then, and like he wants to be done with that doctor, and he is right actually, like what he has done. And when I for one did not expect it to be like he was recruited by the CIA, like they tried to bring back the super soldier serum, and he was blipped and all of that. So we do get a mention of what they did to Isaiah, his blood. A second episode, Isaiah's scene, I said it in the last week. It was quite an emotional scene. It was so touching. So it is nice that we see like his story, and I am hoping that we get much more story of like what Isaiah went through, and in the future to adjust his past.
Yeah, I really hope Isaiah comes back. I thought the back-to-back scenes of Isaiah and then Falcon on the street getting racially profiled. I thought that was a great bridging the gap. Like, look, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed in this country, and what was still is. And I actually thought those two scenes back to back were my favorite of the show so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Likewise, I agree totally.
I agree.
I mean, can we say like what a badass Sharon is? Like, she took everyone out on her side.
Yeah, true.
That
she didn't need no backup. She was like, guys, they're coming up, and she did it anyway.
We need to get out of here.
Yes, while it is to say that we know, like, we don't have that many bloods, and it is, they don't get close to R-rated. Of course, it's not close at all. But at the same time, there was some like subtle, quick, brutal scenes, like from the knife stabbing, and Sebastian like throwing the spear, the bar to that bounty hunter's shoulder. Like, Sharon's scenes were so, like, the hand-to-hand combats was great. I love that about Winter Soldier, because we didn't get that much use of Bucky's arms in the previous episode. Like, he was like, not episodes, I mean movies. He was always using guns. So it is so cool to see Sharon and Bucky get use of their like the jiu-jitsu and the arm, the vibranium arms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kudos to the director and the writers, Paris Coughlin. She has been doing an amazing job throughout these 3 episodes.
I said in my podcast this morning, I thought if we're talking about MCU proper and not the Netflix, this was the best hand-to-hand fight choreography since Winter Soldier, 100%.
Yeah, that was awesome, definitely.
So, what was, like, before? Yeah, we do get a reveal, but when you watched at that moment, did you all think that Zemo ran away?
Yes. Yeah.
I am so happy that they didn't go that road, because it would have been like expected every villain that would try to run away from the people that he's trying to friend with. But I'm so happy that he actually showed up and came back to like finish their job.
I would feel like it would have. I mean, I expect that, but that's too early. I was like, in one episode is out. I was like, no, it need to be like maybe almost the finale when he betrayed them, because I feel like that's too like predictable. Then I would have been very disappointed with the episode. I'd be like, no, this is not Marvel. This is like CW, man. This is not...
I mean, that scene with like putting the mask on and blowing that pipeline with all of these, it was so cool.
When you put the mask on, I was like, I'm gonna put my mask on again for my next video.
Kirk, when's the next video coming?
Well, the thing is that I'm dropping one next week, but I was afraid because Julien is coming back only in 1 month, and then for sure he's coming back in the city because he's working abroad. But I was like, people are waiting, and I don't want them to be disappointed if they don't see Julien on it. So this video is gonna be different, but it's gonna be big. You'll see. It's gonna be a big video. It's gonna be awesome.
Marvel fans United.
Yeah, Marvel fans United.
Julia, I know you're gonna be watching this. We miss you. Hopefully, you're gonna be back soon.
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
I mean, Sam already knew that you're not gonna move up your seat. I love that small references to the previous movies, that small scenes. It's just so lovely to hear that, and they're like a relationship between them, and he's so sure no.
I have a theory that the idea for the Falcon and Winter Soldier never materialized until Kevin Feige saw that Civil War scene in the car. He's like, these guys have great chemistry. Let's give them their own show. I don't care if that's not the truth. That's what I have in my head, Ken.
I mean, I think that's what Pastor Stan said actually in the premiere of he said like, thank you, Emily Van Camp, for like, during you have that kiss with Steve, that's where like our relationship started. Like, move your seat. That I think I agree. That's where this series like was born, from that scene.
That's awesome. I love them.
So yeah, let's get to Carly Morgenthau. So I don't know how to articulate it, but yes, she's like, you can sympathize with her. We know that they're doing good stuff. But what she did at the end of this episode, what is your opinions?
I'm just going to be straight up. I understand and appreciate that the Falcon and Winter Soldier is trying to create a sympathetic group of villains. I just think every time they switch to the Carly and the Flag Smashers, it halts the entire momentum of every single episode. I don't think it's working. I don't care. I would be fine if they don't go back to them at all, except for fight scenes. I know that's a little cruel, but that's my opinion.
But my thing with that is that I love them. I love them because I thought they were about to use them to explain the gap for the 5 years gap, you know. But for me, that was interesting. Like you said, Marvel says stuff sometimes they have no consequences. Okay, 5 years gap, and we saved them. I was like, okay, how did that work? Because in Spider-Man, it was a funny joke, like, oh, we came back doing a game. And then you watch in WandaVision, it was like the awful. People were dying. And I was like, so how the government was like, how the people were like, how do you accept, like, if someone was a president and then he's dead and then he come back and like, is he still president? Is he not? So I was like, I wanted to see that. So every time I went back to them, I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna touch upon that. So they did it. They did a small commercial. I was like, oh, this episode we're gonna find out how it happened, and they don't. So for me, I'm like you, Brandon. If they're just gonna talk about their life and how they feel sad, I was like, there's already enough emotional story that we can dive in, like find out with Bucky, we can find out with Sam, we can find out with Isaiah. That I don't care about this new girl. Like, I don't know what she lost except the fact that they put her on the street. I'm not invested enough, so I feel bad for you. So my thing is that it'll be good if when they go back to him, we understand how awful it was, because I don't understand. I want them to be like, okay, when the Avengers came back 5 years, it wasn't as great. Then it'll be interesting to be like, oh, this is the downfall of that. But so far I don't feel it. I'm just like, y'all just terrorists. I don't care. Y'all kill people. If you were mad because they killed somebody in your family, you just kill a parent and like an uncle, and all these men died because of you. So I don't care. But I love the actress face. Every time I see her, I was like, oh, I want to see her fight. I like her, but
yeah, she's
I'm liking her.
Great actress. I mean, I am on board with you guys too, like two of you. I mean, a lot of people I have been seeing online, like YouTube, like all of the reviews, like people are like trying to hype up the Flag Smashers a lot. I'm like, what am I missing? I'm watching it. I enjoy every dialogue they're having, but at the same time, I'm still not that much invested in them. I think that's when you can see the contrast between, like, from all of the villains that we have had. Yes, they're good. They're struggling for a good cause, helping people, but at the same time, in the first episode, like, they're robbing a bank. I get it. Yeah, you can go and have some foods, supplies, but vaccines and robbing a bank, I don't know. I'm not invested in them, and I haven't actually felt any sympathy towards them. That's what I think the contrast that we can see with, Bucky, Zemo, even Thanos. Like, a lot of people, actually, we all understood where Thanos was coming from. Yes, we didn't agree with his implementations. Like, even Zemo had a point, but that's the problem with this. I agree. Like, even if they were not in the series, because they have done it much more better in Far From Home, in WandaVision, we have seen the post, like the snaps and the blip. We have seen these, like the aftermath of these. The flagships, I still, me too. I don't think I'm that much invested in them. Lastly, John Walker, which I want to say that I was like, one of the reasons why I loved this episode, we didn't get that much scenes of them. And the fact that what is real interesting as well is too, for example, the flagships, whenever they're on screen, I'm not invested. But for John Walker, I don't like him at all. White Russell is amazing, but I do want to watch them because they're compelling. So what is your, he's like, if we get the job done, no one is going to sweat on us, like how on the how.
I like what they're doing with John Walker. I mean, last week we get the idea that he's a likable dickhead, that he's kind of a jerk, but he's more or less like trying to do the right thing. And I like here that, like, he might have a little bit of a temper problem. Like, he might not be wholly in the right mindset to be Captain America. And I like adding these shades to him because it's like, well, I'm not exactly sure which side of the line he's going to fall on. And that's interesting to me. And I think Wyatt Russell is doing a good job. And I think his partner, I'm sorry, is an idiot. He's like, I don't think there's anything related to Bucky and Sam being there the day he escapes. And Wyatt's like, dude, are you serious? Like, of course they helped him. Don't be a moron. I'm glad that he's like with the program. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, that's true. I'm like, if you have, I don't know, I would have looked at him like this, like, hey, you can be on the team no more. Like, you don't know if you think it's a coincidence, like they just say hi to him and left and be like, oh, he escaped. And then, but at the same, like, I'm like you. At first, I was like, oh, he's not that bad. He's just like that. They put the suit on him, so he's just trying his best. So Sam and Bucky are being dickhead to him because like, hey, it's not my fault. I'm doing my job, but not because when you watch the show, you realize that he's kind of a dick a little bit. Is not fully in the right set of mind. I feel like he's trying to prove something to people that I'm the right man for this job, and you see all this stuff. But sometimes I wonder, shouldn't the Avenger welcome him? Because it's like not in the right way, like, but just in this is the government. They put this man up, so it should be part of the Avengers. Like, even if they don't agree with it, there should at least be a meeting, right? Because
from a PR standpoint, it really makes no sense. And like, I like that the government told the public, because they don't know that, oh yeah, Steve Rogers retired. That's why he's not here. But wouldn't everyone be like, well, just for the sake of like the PR campaign, wouldn't Steve Rogers appear with him and have like a symbolic deal? Like, where is Black Widow?
Where is that?
Yeah, no one's asking any like questions for like the real world transition.
And even like
when he said like, do you know who I am? You get like what kind of attitude he has. I think he does have an identity complex, because what you said, Kirk, I think he is never going to be accepted by the Avengers, all of them, because everyone had some like relations from far or close to Steve. And that's going to be the problem. He's trying to do good. He's trying to be the best that he could be. But at the same time, he just can't stop comparing himself to Steve. That's where I think if he doesn't die, which I don't think he's going to die in this series, that's where he's going to go towards the more anti-hero, because no one's going to accept him. And he's trying to prove himself. But at the end of the day, no matter how good you are, they're not going to have you. And how do you think they're going to take the shield from him? Because like Bucky says, before you destroy it, I'm going to take the shield. Like, either it's we are getting that comic book like parallels as well, because in the comics, like, Bucky has Captain America, but at the end of the series, we know Sam's going to be Captain America. But like, your reactions of how John Walker is going to have reactions towards that, like when the shield is taken away from him.
I think it's really interesting, and everything you just said, I agree with. I like that he is kind of, we don't know. There are like I said, there's shades of gray, and he has his own identity complex that he's trying to live up to. And I think that makes him interesting while still being like a side character. And I think his journey to be like, okay, I can't be Captain America. All I can be is the best like John Walker I can be. I think that'll be an interesting journey, assuming they don't push him into like a full-on villain role, which I don't think they're going to.
Yeah.
Me too. Mostly maybe an anti-hero. So last thing before wrapping it up, like, we get to see, I did not expect that, but the Camellia beads of Wakanda, like, I'm gonna take a walk, and we see Dora from Wakanda. It is so compelling, and I'm so glad that she showed up at the end, which I don't think anyone would expect. But like, she said that I'm here for Zemo. Your expectations for the upcoming episode, what do you think is gonna happen?
I have no idea. I was completely caught off guard. I loved it. I actually had a question. Do you think it was at all possible that they originally intended that to be Chadwick Boseman and not Adora Milaje? Because he does have that connection with Bucky from Wakanda. It would have been a cool little just quick thing where he's like, hey, we got to do this. I don't know. I that just might be like a completely out there guess, but I was thinking.
I was thinking the same thing, because for me, I was wondering, as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, did they shot it before they knew or after? Because it'll make more sense that Chadwick Boseman show up. So then you'll be crazy. People will be like, Black Panther is there. But at the same time, you'll be like, because he killed his father. So he's the one that forgive him. He's the one that put him in jail. But he was like, the people, the dead are not. So he'll be the one that have a problem with that. As soon as he saw on the news, he left, he will be back in there and be like, yo, what's going on? But the question I had is like, are they gonna address things? Are they gonna set up Black Panther 2? I'm like, oh, what is that? I have no idea. I have no idea. I was like, well, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? I have no idea. And then I'm like, why is not Okoye there? Like, she should have been the. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I think Okoye is like the guardian of Wakanda. She can't just leave. And for I don't think T'Challa would have showed up. The reason for that, maybe like for the finales, it could have, like, T'Challa is the A-list actor, and it wasn't the superheroes too. We know we got Tony in Spider-Man because it was a deal between Sony and Marvel. But I don't think we have until now we have gotten that super high A-list superheroes in just a casual cameo, right?
It's a really good point. I might be overextending myself with wishful thinking or something like that.
But I think if I wish if Chadwick hadn't had passed away, maybe he could have showed up, because let's say Sam and Bucky wouldn't let Dora take Zemo at the end of the episode, the series. Bucky, T'Challa could have showed up to talk to Bucky and Sam to say that he needs Zemo in Wakanda.
Yeah.
So I think we came to an end of this.
That was awesome.
Falcon and the Soldier.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for showing up again. You're the best. You're the honorary guest. So whenever you want to come by, let us know. You're awesome. Also, I want to thank also Enje for coming up, always entertaining us, coming up with the best question and the best. She's watching, she's noting the stuff, she's doing everything behind the scenes. You guys don't see it. Follow both of them, guys, and we'll see you guys next Friday for another episode.
It was so great to have you with us, Brandon. Again, your opinions and ideas are so valuable to us.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you having me back on. Love talking